Hey, Coach Duffy here with Neo BJJ, and this week's training tips. We're going to talk about something relatively simple, but very important, and that is cardiac output. So, what is it? It's what a lot of people refer to as LSD or low, slow, and for distance, road work. It's when you're just basically doing cardio. So, your typical aerobic cardio. So we're going to drill it down and make it a little bit more specific. And then, like we always do, we'll talk about why we're going to do it and when to do this in your training. So out of the gate, why would we use this method? This is important because, like you'll see a lot of endurance athletes, they have great use of oxygen within their body. Now, they might not output a ton of energy, but they can continue a lower output of energy for a long time. And they do that because of all the cardiac training. So what this method does is, if done properly, it's going to increase the overall size of the left ventricle in the heart and your overall peripheral vascular network. So all of your veins, you're going to get a little bit more robust flow in the veins, and that left ventricle is going to get bigger. So instead of having, say, a pump that can pump 5 gallons, your pump is going to be able to pump 10 gallons. And why that is important is later in the phase, you would want to start training things like threshold cardiac power intervals, where you're going to start working on the strength of that muscle of the heart. So then not only can you pump more volume, you'll pump it harder and faster through the body. So though this output itself or this method might seem simple, as you start to stack things on top of it, it becomes very important. So also, obviously, this is going to increase the oxygen supply to your muscles, which very important. When would you want to use this in your training? So if you're putting together your plan, this is similar to strength. You're going to want to do it early in your gen prep phase, so almost out of the gate, just start this. You probably don't want to pair this with your strength training, but you can sort of combine it with other things that would help. So early in the gen prep phase, we're going to use it to build a very solid conditioning foundation. And like I said, we'll build off of this as we progress. And again, like strength, this has a long-lasting benefit. So scientific research has shown that if you get a great cardio or cardiac level of conditioning, if you were to do nothing else for 30 days, you're going to start to see very slow, diminishing, aerobic conditioning levels, not even until like 30, 35 days. So let me summarize that so it makes sense. If you got yourself in a really high level aerobic conditioning, and then you did nothing, you're going to see no decrease in your conditioning levels till about day 30. And then from there, even the diminishing returns on that's going to be very limited. So you can do this out of the gate and then just revisit it throughout the program and keep very high levels of conditioning. So some of the keys to this method. One, I mean, the treadmill's easy, but you can really use anything. So if you're a gym or you're working out at home, say you have a bike, treadmill, stair stepper, rower. I mean, some of these methods are going to be a little more intense than others, but you can really use anything that's going to get you into the proper heart rate zone that we'll talk about. I personally, because I get bored quick, I'll break it up into 3 different things or 2 different things and do maybe 20 minutes on stair stepper, 20 minutes on the treadmill, 20 minutes on the rower. Just keeps it fresh for me. So when we talk about heart rate ranges, what we're looking for is, you can see here, if you have the Morpheus, these heart rate zones are going to be populated for you based on your recovery and your reading in the morning. And you will want to remain right at the bottom of the green or just into the green, somewhere in that lower range. And that's going to give us enough blood flow into that left ventricle to where it's going to completely fill that left ventricle and stretch it a little bit and then pump. If you get too high in your heart rate, it's beating so fast that it's actually not filling up fully, and we're not getting that stretch that we're looking for. And that goes through the whole system. So this is another one of those things where low and slow is better than, going more intense and thinking you're going to get more out of the workout, because you won't. So for the Morpheus people, we're going to try to stay in that really high blue or very low green. I typically will stay low green, just like roll from there. This is also a good chance to sort of understand your pacing and how it feels to be in that zone, so you can take that kind of mentality and that understanding into your matches. Now, if you don't have the Morpheus, the typical range, you're going to want to get anywhere between 130, 145, 150 tops beats per minute. So you could just look at your app, whatever you're using for your chest strap or heart rate monitor, and stay in that range. I will note chest straps are the main one for this. Your peripheral, like phone, like iPhones or your wrist monitors, probably not the best for this. Now, say you don't have a heart rate strap, there's also another thing you can do that works pretty well, is just get to a level, say you're running on a treadmill, where it feels like, okay, I feel like I'm doing work, but I could still have a conversation if needed. As soon as you get to the kind of the one-word answers where you're feeling a little more exhausted, it's too much. So pare it down a little bit. So how do we implement this into our programming? Well, like I said, we want to focus on the heart rate range. So we're programming that in. You're going to maintain that level of heart rate for the entire work period. So say we put in the program 40 minutes cardiac output, you will get to that heart rate zone, and then the time starts there. Then stay in that zone for the 40 minutes. You can use this method 2 to 3 times a week. Beyond that, it's not as beneficial. So stay in that kind of a recipe. And that is pretty much it for cardiac output. Like I said, there's other things you can do. We'll typically, if we're going to pair this up with any kind of weight training, we would do this on a separate day, and maybe after this do some sort of auxiliary or secondary movements, maybe like grip strength, core, things of that nature. Then we'll use the primary strength for maybe slow twitch muscles, kind of a different tempo method. We'll use that on other days throughout the week. So we might use this twice a week, 3 times a week. Then flip side, we would do maybe 2 times a week or 3 times a week, the other kind of like slow twitch muscle development. So hopefully that makes sense. Good way to build up that conditioning, especially if you're just getting back to the mats. But it's really important, especially out of the gate, to get this conditioning foundation built for you. So like always, if you have any questions, let us know in the comments. And thanks for watching.